Okay, welcome to this afternoon session. The sign-in register is in the chat box, so if you haven't done so already, please get yourself signed in. And as mentioned, the recording has just started for training. So, just a recap on the current situation. So just making sure that we're keeping that social distancing, and obviously staying in as much as possible. I know the weather's lovely. Still get out and get your exercise, but obviously still make sure that linking that back to your British values, and obviously part of the British values, hopefully you've gone through that with your tutors, was one of them was obviously abiding by the law, and obviously at the moment it is law that we stick by these guidelines for everyone's safety, and obviously to get over it as quick as possible. So just in case you weren't aware, they obviously have updated the law in terms of restrictions and what we can do and how they can impact on us. And they are issuing a £1,000 fine if you are caught out. So if you guys are not working and you haven't got that official letter from your bosses to say that you're out there working, then you know that it's only exercise or going to the shop for essentials that you should be out there. Okay, so welcome to this afternoon session, functional skills. We're back on English. There are 3 parts of your English assessment, and we're focused quite heavily on the reading and writing aspects, which are final exams once you're prepared and ready for those. But there's also a speak and listen communication part. So we're going to focus on that today, and in particular presentations. So I'll kind of go through and outline basically what is involved in the speaking and listening assessment. This is an assessment which will be done by myself, and it'll involve you and other learners that will need to complete the exam or the assessment as well. Okay, so speak and listen communication obviously is a bit of a mouthful, so I'll always shorten it down to SLC, just makes life a little bit easier for us. The most important thing that you guys need to remember is this famous quote. Hopefully you've seen it before. So by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. So it's the one most important thing that you need to remember. You need to prepare. Okay, you will get plenty of time to prepare. You need to make sure you do it. Okay, so preparation is the key. It's the key in any part of communication. You need to know what you're communicating. You need to know how you're going to do it, and it obviously needs to be delivered to a good standard. You might need to do some research. So you need to make sure that whatever topics you are given, you don't just wing it. You don't just go by what you think. You need to do a little bit of research. You need to find out a little bit more. And even if it's something that you're quite familiar with and you've got a lot to say about it, just doing a bit of research could give you counter arguments, could just enlighten you a little bit more. And it's not just based on what you already know or what you've heard. It'll be the most up-to-date information on that subject. So you might want to create a presentation. So that is obviously what today is focused on, is presentations, how to create them, and how to deliver them. You don't have to create a presentation, but I'll go into a little bit more as to why it's good for you. Notes are a fantastic thing to have. So again, don't go in there not preparing, because you are preparing yourself to fail. Have notes with you. Have notes on what you want to talk about. I don't want you to come in with pages and pages of notes, because you're then going to be stopping and reading through them. It's literally just bullet points to remind you, to prompt you about what you need to, or what you might want to talk about. There will be time allocated for your planning. So depending on what assessment you're doing, that'll become a little bit more clear in a minute. But you will get allocated time to be able to prepare effectively. And there are going to be set tasks. So again, depending on what assessment you do, there's going to be set tasks that come up. The set tasks will be topics from the awarding body, which is NCFE. They are very different topics. Hopefully you'll pass first time. If you don't, obviously, if you have to resit and do the assessment again, you will obviously get a different. The topics are completely random, but they are quite broad, so you should be able to relate to it. And where possible, especially for your first one, if I'm aware of what topics there are, then I will certainly make sure I try and pick something probably sport related, because I know all you guys coming from a coaching background, you're probably going to be more related to it. So if I can, where possible, I'll pick something sporty or kind of more like healthy eating, anything based around children. So I'll try and relate it as close to your job role as I can, just so you can have a little bit more experience, involvement, and really get to grips with what it is you're talking rather than getting something completely random, which you're going to find a lot harder to relate to. Okay, so there's two different exams or assessments at the moment. The speaking and listening exam for the legacy learners, that basically means that you're on an old qualification. So not so long ago, you'll probably realise that they updated and revamped GCSEs. They changed them from obviously being your A's, B's, C's, etc. So grading systems now obviously 1 to 9. And when they did that, they made them harder. They revamped the qualifications. Well, that's exactly what they've done with functional skills. So they've made functional skills slightly different, slightly harder. Not massively, to be honest. The actual English part is probably the least changes that they've made, but they have made it better. And it is obviously, it's been developed. But if you're on the legacy one, it means that you're on the old one. Okay. So for example, Chantel, you're one of the older learners, so you will you'll be on a legacy one. Then I'm not too sure when you started, so I'm not too sure what one you'll be on. I think off the top of my head you'll probably be on new one, and heavy you'll definitely be on the new one. Okay, so this is mainly for Chantel's benefit. So Chantel, you'll be able to see what it is that you can expect, but like I said, they are very similar anyway. So basically at level 2, so level 2 is the exam that you will be taking. You're required to make a presentation and take part in a formal discussion. Your preparation time is going to be 20 minutes, so prior to it starting, and your presentation is going to be 5 minutes per learner. So at the moment we are looking at different ways. So there has been updates in the last week. You've probably already heard things around like GCSEs and A levels and how they're going to have an outcome. So they're going to be very focused on predicted outcomes based on like classroom work and any mock tests, etc. Well, hopefully functional skills are going to go in the same direction. And there was a release last week to say that that's what the plan is. We're just waiting for the awarding body to confirm what process they want us to follow. And once they do, then we'll obviously get that out to you guys. So it depends on obviously what they decide, but hopefully it will be able to, especially for this part, the speaker and listening part, we'll be able to do it as a video call on a Teams call. We'll get our cameras on and we'll have the presentations remotely as a video. So hopefully it might make you a little bit more relaxed, that you're not quite necessarily in, because generally if it was going to be in person, it would obviously be in the same room with 3 to 4 other learners. So hopefully this way should make you feel a little bit more relaxed. It might be a preferred option for you. So your formal discussion is then going to be up to 15 minutes, and then there'll be an outcome of the discussion at the end. So there'll be a minimum of 3 participants. Basically, so there won't be any more than 4 learners at a time. So I can't assess any more than 4 learners at a time because there's just too much going on. So that is a restriction based on the awarding body. So based on the presentation section, each learner is going to do a 2 to 3 minute persuasive presentation, and then it will be followed by a 2-minute question and answer session. So the other learners taking part will obviously have to listen, because that will be their listening part of the qualification, and they will then ask you questions when you. The formal discussion will then take part after everyone's done their presentation and everyone's had their question and answers. The formal discussion part will then just be a discussion between whoever is in your group. Everyone needs to take part, and it will take up to around 15 minutes. And it will just be basically a debate, a discussion based around whatever the topic is that they've given. And again, where possible, I'll try to get that related to your guys' job roles or what your interest may be. And then at the end, there'll just be that discussion on the outcome. So it's what have we decided the pros and cons are, or what have we decided, are we in agreement with this or not? It might be something like, I don't know, healthy eating or fast food. Are we in agreement with fast food? Some people may agree that fast food is cheap and it helps with obviously busy parents, etc. Obviously, others are going to disagree that, well, actually, it's contributing to a large population of kids being obese. So there's going to be a mixed outcome. So it's obviously just discussing that final part and seeing what we come to. So that's the legacy. That's the old qualification. So that is mainly related to Chantal. So when they revamped it, when they brought it in, and they've all changed it, these are the slight variations that have changed. So yours, Heather, is called the reform. So yours will be 16 to 19 minutes per learner, is what you'll be assessed on. You'll have 3 tasks, which is basically what the other one was anyway. So a presentation lasting 8 minutes to a minimum of 3 learners. They're very similar numbers. A question and answer session afterwards, taking part 3 to 5 minutes. Again, that's based on the learners in your session with you asking you questions, and then the discussion as a group between 5 to 6 minutes. So as you'll see, it's very similar, not really any massive changes in there. Okay, so the assessment criteria that they'll look at, question and answer part. This is kind of an example of what I'll be looking for when I do the assessment. So identifying relevant information from extended explanations or presentations. So it's whatever topic you've been given, you've taken that and you've touched on the relevant information. So what are the main points of that information? Following narratives and lines of agreement. So that's you giving your opinion, if you agree or disagree with whatever the topic is. There's no right or wrong. It's entirely up to you. You can have your opinion. Respond effectively to detailed or extended questions and feedback. So at the question and answer section, that is if someone asks you a question, you don't just say yes or no. You give them a detailed answer as to what your opinion is or what it is that you covered in that presentation. Make requests and ask detailed and follow-up questions. So again, that's you listening to other people's presentations and asking them questions. Communicate information, ideas and opinions clearly and effectively. So that is just your basic English skills. Using correct language, using appropriate language, not using slang, or swear words. It's just communicating effectively. And use obviously language that is accurate and appropriate. So it's appropriate to obviously what you're talking about, and it's appropriate to the different people that you're in the group with. So you wouldn't necessarily use a context, or you wouldn't necessarily talk about someone that's older if you've got quite a young group. So it just depends on obviously who the other learners are in your group. And then moving on to the discussion part, that was kind of the last task in both of the assessments. So you're going to be assessed on communicating information, ideas and opinions clearly and effectively. So again, whatever it is that your topic is that you're discussing, we'll be looking to see that you can get your opinions across on that topic. And not just this is what I think, because, and give an example, or that's where your research comes in, give an example statistic or a fact to back up your information, your ideas. So express opinions and arguments and support them with relevant and persuasive evidence, as I've just said. Use language that is effective, accurate and appropriate. So again, it's just on both of the tasks, you will be assessed on how you're speaking. Are you speaking clearly? And are you using the correct language? So making relevant and constructive contributions. So again, it's not just someone else gives a really detailed, this is what I think, this is a fact and a statistic for it. What do you think? And you just say, yeah, I agree. That's not making a relevant contribution. Okay, so it's a yes, I agree because of this, this and this, or no, actually I disagree because of this. So again, it doesn't matter whether you do agree or disagree, it's just giving your ideas and your opinions and information to back it up. Obviously you do need to adapt contributions to the discussion to suit the audience purpose and meaning. So what that basically means is that, like I say, you don't have to agree, but you wouldn't necessarily stop someone else from talking, or be inappropriate and tell them shut up, or it's just yeah, I completely understand your opinion and I can see where you're coming from, however this is my opinion, this is why I disagree. So it's just getting your ideas across in an appropriate way. And like it says, you can interject and redirect discussion, as long as you do it appropriately, as long as you do it in a positive way, and you're not interrupting or stopping someone from talking. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions. So as part of that assessment, whether you're in the legacy or the new one, the new reform, you're going to need to do a presentation. So I would say it is a really good idea to have a PowerPoint ready. You don't have to if it's not your strength. There's no requirement that you need to. However, visually, it's going to give someone, especially if we don't end up doing it remotely and you are standing in front of people, it's going to give people something to look at, something to focus on, because especially if you're someone that doesn't like presenting and you don't like people looking at you, then they're going to be, looking between the PowerPoint and you. So if there is no PowerPoint and there's nothing else apart from you standing in front of them, then they are just going to be focused directly on you, and that could be very often. Obviously, the PowerPoint's there as well to help prompt you with what you want to say. Okay, so on basic PowerPoints, once you've got your slides, you want to try and duplicate them where possible, just because it makes it look better. You won't be, as you've just seen the assessment criteria. There's nothing in there to say anything about PowerPoints, what your presentation looks like. It's all about how you get that information across. So what I don't want you to do is create a PowerPoint and you to write everything on it that you want to say and read off it, because that is not you communicating effectively. So as you'll see right now, I've literally got bullet points. And I'm just talking to you, and those bullet points are just helping me to remind me of what I want to say to you, and that's what you need to do. Okay, so that's why bullet points are really important, because they're going to give you something to talk about, they're going to remind you, they're going to prompt you, but they're obviously not you then just reading off the screen. There may be like a quote or a statistic or a fact that you want to include in your presentation. By all means, you can obviously then read that off the screen. So it doesn't mean you can't, it just means where possible, just try and use those bullet points so you can just use them as prompts. You're also going to want to get some pictures in there. So there's loads of different options that you can use in terms of pictures, animations, 3D, as you've just seen. Again, bullet points are obviously good, but some people like to see things visually. If you're talking about something specific, get a picture of it. It's really good for people to see pictures. It might be your experience on it. It might be to back up your opinion on something. It obviously depends on obviously the topic. But yeah, where possible, again, get those pictures to help remind you and prompt you to talk about it. Animation. So in terms of what I mean by animation is obviously, you know, you're not going to be creating any spectacular films or anything. However, the fact that when you're delivering your PowerPoint, not having everything pop up at once, and having those bullet points come up as and when you want to talk about them. So that is part of the animation of the PowerPoint, is to add them in as and when you want them, how you want them, where you want them to come up. And most importantly, you want to check your PowerPoint at the end. So once you're ready, once you're happy, once you've got in the information you need, once you've made it look, as I said before, it doesn't have to look pretty, but the pictures and the bullet points are all going to help you on the day. The animation is going to help you on the day, and then obviously you want to check it because you want to make sure that it's appropriate. So check on the slideshow, go through it, and use that as a basically, like we've said in any of the other, especially the maths questions, you want to check your answer. Well, you want to do the same with this. You want to check the information that you're given and what it looks like. Okay, so I've got two options. It depends on Heather and Chantel. Obviously, there's only the two of you on here, so hopefully you're brave enough to talk to me. I've got either 10 tips on delivering PowerPoints or creating PowerPoints. I'd probably say this is a little bit more advanced. It depends on your guys' experience on what you've had with PowerPoints. So I could either come completely off this and show you a basic PowerPoint and how to start it and put it together, and we can do it. Or if you know the basics around PowerPoints and you're happy with PowerPoints, this 10 tips will actually help you make them a lot better. So yeah, talk to me. What would you like to do? Would you like to see the video, which is more advanced, or would you like me to show you how to put a basic PowerPoint together and navigate around it? Ever, have you got any opinions on, have you used PowerPoint before?
Yeah, I'm not quite okay with PowerPoint, so it's up to Chantal really. I'm not fussed either way.
Chantal, have you had any experience with PowerPoints? Have you delivered any, or have you created any, or even delivered any before? Okay, what we'll do then is we will, obviously I know Chantal you haven't got access to the chat box, so I will play the video, and Chantal, if you feel that it's a bit too advanced for you and you want some help on putting one together, then email me after this and we'll set up a one-to-one and I can go through that with you. Okay.
Hi there, Jamie Keat here today at Teachers Tech. Hope you're having a great day today. Today I want to give you 10 quick, powerful tips for PowerPoint. These tips are just going to make your presentations look that much better and speed up the whole process of creating them. If you're looking for some other great tips for Microsoft products, check in the description down below or the cards and I'll link it that way. Let's get started on these tips today. And remember, I do these weekly tech tips, and if you like what you see, please subscribe to my channel. You want to save some time getting a great looking design for your PowerPoint? Try this. So all I've done so far is write a title on here and put one image. If you go over to the menu and hit design, look at the very end for design ideas. So when I click on this, look at the ideas it's going to give me right away just to do with this, with the two things I've entered. So if I find something I like, go ahead and click on it and it's there. A great way to speed up your design. You ever want your font to match the color that you have in a certain image on a slide? Well, you can do that easily with the eyedropper. So if you go just up to here, select your text that you want to have colored, highlight it, go right up to here to the font color, click on it, and click the eyedropper. So when you click the eyedropper, you can bring it over any part of the screen and it's going to select the color. So if I want it to be the same as this car, from this point it gives you a little preview there. If I click on it, you can see how it changes. So just go simply highlight, click down beside the font color, the eyedropper, and then select the color that you want. I like having my presentations looking professional, and the way I want to do that is aligning my pictures to the exact point on every slide the same, or making sure they're aligned a certain way on a page. So how I do this is I go over to View up top and then take a look under Ruler, Guidelines, Grid Lines, and Guides. So if I turn on Guides at first here and just click this box, you notice how I get these crosshairs. I can move these, I can adjust this, I can grab. So if I knew I wanted to line up on the side all the time, I can bring this over, and let's say I wanted this. Now when I grab an image, I can move it right up into that corner and it will align with wherever I had those guidelines to help me find it. The other thing I can do is turn on my grid lines, and so it even gives me more options to move images around to make sure I can align different pictures up the same, just to make sure that they're all exactly the same, because sometimes if you're like me, I don't like them when they're a little off if I'm trying to get that straight line, and this helps a lot. You can also use your ruler if you're looking for the measurements just to keep everything the same. There's one more option. If you click the little box down below under the show here, you can actually have it set to snap to grid. So if you, this I find handy because if you get it to a certain spot, you can just bring it to it and it'll snap to those spots on the grid. You can see how you have some grid settings with your spacing. And then if you get everything the way you want, you can go ahead and set as default and this will remember it. A cool transition is the morph transition. Let me show you how this works. So go ahead and just duplicate a slide that you're on here. Now go up to your transitions up at the top, click on morph, make sure you have the slide selected, and then just click on an image, move these images around in a different spot, go back, click morph again, and you're going to see how the movement is between the two different slides. Removing the background is a fantastic feature in PowerPoint. So all you have to do is go ahead and click on the image that you want to remove the background from, and you see Format up top. Go ahead, click on that. Right over on the left-hand side, we have Remove Background. So at this point, all we have to do is go ahead and right away it detects the background here, but notice it has the nose in place, and that it would take off the nose. So what you do is go up here, mark areas to keep, so select that, and then I'm just going to draw a space around there so you can see now how it's been detected on it. So everything looks good to me. When I like what I have, all I have to do is hit Keep Changes, and you can see I've removed the background on my image. Want to add an equation on PowerPoint by writing it? Go ahead and do this. Go up top to Insert, go over to Equation, use the drop down on it, go down to the very bottom and click Ink Equation. When you click on that, you can go ahead and write your equation. So if I was writing this one, And then you can go ahead and hit the insert, but notice you could erase, select incorrect or clear. I'm going to go ahead and insert, and I have the equation inside my PowerPoint. Let me show you a great shortcut for reordering list. So I have this list here numbered, and maybe I want the 5th one in a different spot, and I don't want to go through and deleting and rewriting again. All you have to do is just simply highlight what you want, hold down your Alt-Shift, and then use the arrow keys to place it where you want. You can see how quickly I can move it around, and this way I don't have to go ahead and delete it and rewrite it. Here's another great shortcut if you want to make a copy of something. Just simply click on whatever, so whether it be on your font, hold down Control. When you drag, you're going to create a copy. So same thing with an image. If you take it, hold down Control, drag, you've made a copy. That can save some time. If you add a shape in PowerPoint, you can still customize it after you add it. So if I go up and go over to my shapes, and I'll just put something simple in here to demo, and I draw a shape, take a look at the edit shape over here. So if I do the drop down and go to edit points, I can click on it. Now I can grab the points on it and change the shape. The other thing you can do is also right click on the line edit. You can see you can add points to it. So you can add as many points, and you can still manipulate the shape to get it exactly the way you want. Make your charts more exciting with animation. So go ahead with the chart that you've put in already, click on it, make sure you go up top to where you see animations, and you have all these choices. So I'll just pick float in for this example, but I don't want the whole chart to float in at once. I want to break it down into the series. So you can see effect options. If I go ahead and click on this, I have all these different options here. So I'm going to say by series. So now if I was giving a presentation, I can maybe specify as the different series were coming in, just to make them a little bit more exciting when presenting. I hope these 10 tips will come in useful for you the next time you're creating a PowerPoint. If you have some great ideas and maybe some great tips in PowerPoint, write it down in the description below. I'd love to.
Okay, so hopefully you guys have picked up a couple of top tips in there. So yeah, what did you learn? I personally, from watching that video, have learned that's going to help me with my maths. Could have helped me quite a few weeks ago when I'm writing my maths presentations, because the writing the equations is actually quite hard to kind of get them in there. So generally I kind of go and use pictures and examples from the resources I've already got, but finding that out really helped me. And also editing the shapes, again with the maths, that's really helpful for me. And then the effect options as well at the end. So Heather, did you pick up anything that you learned that you didn't already know about PowerPoint?
Yeah, how to like add in the information, the animation like separately instead of just having it as like one big one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's something that I've always wanted to know. I didn't even know that how you did that. So yeah, for me, that's a really big one as well. So like I said, doesn't necessarily help you in terms of your English assessment and you picking up any marks. However, it will help you when you're delivering, and obviously what comes up at what point. And like you just said, Heather, especially that effect option of having it pop up as and when you want it. So that is a really good tool to use. So once you've got that PowerPoint ready, once you've got the information you want in there, the delivery then is obviously really important. Okay, so one of my top tips on delivery is it's going to be body language. So obviously at the moment you guys can't see me, but one, I'm wearing uniform. Two, I'm standing up, so it just helps me to get in a certain mind frame to be able to deliver the presentation. If we are going to do these remotely, then you guys obviously need to be in a quiet area. I wouldn't expect you to stand up whilst doing them. You can obviously you can sit down as long as you're just in a quiet area, so in your bedroom or in a room, in an office, maybe in your house if you've got one. Yeah, somewhere quiet, somewhere where you wouldn't want to stand there. So I definitely wouldn't want to see you on the other end of the video, sitting there with your arms folded, because you're going to look bored, and what you're looking like is then going to obviously get perceived into your audience as well. So body language is really, really important, whether that's face to face or whether you're going to be delivering it remotely on the camera. So obviously you making your own notes is really, really important. So you want to have your notes there. Make sure they are notes. Don't write loads and loads. Don't have massive of sentences. Just literally have those notes. Notes prompt you, give you that that little prompt so you know what you're talking about. So always make sure that you adapt the I can attitude. So yes, there is a I can't, but generally 9 times out of 10 there's always a way around it. Okay, so make sure you have that attitude at the start of your presentation. Have some confidence. Just go into it with I can pass this, I can do this, and I can do everything possible to make sure that I get past my assessment. Okay, so also take your time. So there's nothing wrong with having a short pause. There's nothing wrong with you not talking the whole time. Obviously, you've seen from my presentations, I obviously like to use things like videos. It gives me a bit of a break. And sometimes the videos and what you can see on those videos, it's a lot better because you can see it visually than what I can actually tell you and teach you. And there's only so much that I can put on a presentation as well. So for me, that helps break it up. Obviously, in terms of your delivery for your presentation in an English assessment, you can't use a video because that doesn't show your English skills. So on that occasion, you can't. However, in future development, if you need to do any sort of presentations at school or for work purposes, then obviously, you know, motivational videos are really good to include. Gives you time to take your, catch your breath and take time. And also asking people like questions and things will give you time to have a breath as well. So yeah, don't rush it. Always have some water with you. So especially if you're not someone that's used to presenting, if you're not naturally confident, then water can help give you that little bit of time to just have a sip of water. And sometimes when you are talking a lot, you do necessarily you can really need it sometimes as well. So always have something to drink with you, as long as it's appropriate, that is. Don't be getting no cans of beer on the side of your presentations. Eye contact is really, really important. Obviously, I know that's going to be hard if we do it remotely and on camera. But yeah, generally, hopefully, I'd like to see that if you are on camera, that you are going to be making that eye contact. You could hopefully going to be looking at your screen anyway, because your screen is going to have your presentation on it, or you'll be looking at the screen because you'll be looking at someone else's presentation. So not necessarily eye contact in terms of if it's remotely. If we come out of this and you are in the room, obviously for you, Heather, there's not so much of a rush because you're quite early on in your apprenticeship. So the next 2 or 3 months in isolation is not necessarily going to massively impact on your functional skills. Whereas for Chantel, we want to get her through as quick as possible because she's coming towards the end of hers. So depends on whether you're obviously in the room or not. But yeah, have eye contact as much as possible because you don't want to be staring up at the ceiling. You don't want to be looking at the floor. If there's any windows in the room, you don't want to be looking out the window. Not only does it show your lack of interest, it will also show you'll probably get distracted. If there's something going on outside that window, you'll definitely get distracted. And your audience will pick up on what it is that you're doing. So if you're not interested and you're not looking at them, they're going to start looking around the room and looking at other things and become disinterested. So that's the whole point of the presentation. You should be able to keep them engaged and keep them looking at you. and make it as interesting as possible. And if you feel that you are losing them and they're not focusing on you, or they are looking around the room, ask them a question and get them involved. So yeah, ask them what their experiences are. So as with everything, I always tell you, in terms of when it comes to whether it's a maths question, an English question, I always tell you practice is the most important thing. The more you practice, the better you're going to get. So in terms of your PowerPoint, once you've created it, once you've got your information, have a practice. So have a run through, see how long it takes you to go through it, see how long it takes you to kind of flick through the slides, and based on what you want. Also, flicking through them slides, you might want to then make notes on, right, slide 1, I'll say this, I'll say this, and have some bullet points. Slide 2, I'll say this and say this. Again, it depends on what option you have. If you're face-to-face, then on these PowerPoints, you can have like a presenter mode, so you can see what's coming up next, and you can have like your notes on the bottom of the PowerPoint. However, at the moment, for me, if I had any notes, I can't see that because obviously I'm presenting to you, you can see what I can see. So yeah, again, it depends on whether we do it remotely or face-to-face, but practice always makes perfect. So make sure that you get that in. And obviously engagement, like I've already touched on, ask questions, get them engaged, get them, you know, involved, because the more they relate to it and the more involvement they have, then it doesn't have to be a massive, you know, give me your life story sort of question. It could be, are you aware of this, or do you know what this is, or have you heard of this before? So it could just be yes or no questions. But like I did earlier I said I gave you guys the option of, did you want to watch the video, did you want it more advanced, or did you want to me to go through the basics? I gave you an option, I got you engaged. Okay, so where possible, try and get some engagement, and especially if you think that you're losing them and they're like kind of looking around. Hopefully you'll be respectful of each other in terms of your actual assessment, but that's just more in terms of future, if you're delivering to school or in the workplace. Engagement is obviously really important. So if you're someone that lacks in confidence, then that's something that obviously, yes, I can give you tips on, which is what I'm now going to do, but it's also something that you guys need to practice. You need to be confident speaking on these presentations, on the video calls. You need to be confident standing up and talking in front of 2 or 3 people, because that's what you're going to have to do in the assessment. So if you guys at the moment are in isolation and you've got 2 or 3 members of your family at home, then maybe give it a go. Create a presentation and start talking to them. If you're someone that lacks in that confidence, the hardest thing you'll do, for me personally, I find it a lot harder presenting to people I know, or people that are in a similar kind of job role, people that actually know what I'm talking about. It's a lot harder to do that than it is maybe, say, presenting to you guys that are not necessarily so familiar with the topic. You'll probably find the same thing. You'll find it really hard presenting to your friends or presenting to your family. Whereas you could probably go into a school and present tomorrow. You know, everyone's different, but although you may feel you lack that confidence, then the confidence is the one thing that you can improve on, and here's some tips to do it.
Cara, there isn't any sound.
So not now. Let's try again. Let's see. Okay, bear with me 2 seconds. Right. Let's go back. And always be prepared, because Not everything goes to plan. So as you'll see, being confident and just staying calm and relaxed, that's came in good time, and that did. Let's see if we can go back. Don't know why that's popped up. Okay. Just let me know if you can hear it now.
Yeah,
faith-
the sound.
Where potential failure seems to lurk at every corner, maybe you've heard this advice before. Be more confident. And most likely, this is what you think when you hear it. If only it were that simple. But what is confidence? Take the belief that you are valuable, worthwhile, and capable, also known as self-esteem. Add in the optimism that comes when you are certain of your abilities. And then empowered by these, act courageously to face a challenge head on. This is confidence. It turns thoughts into action. So where does confidence even come from? There are several factors that impact confidence. 1, what you're born with, such as your genes, which will impact things like the balance of neurochemicals in your brain. 2, how you're treated. This includes the social pressures of your environment. And 3, the part you have control over, the choices you make, the risks you take, and how you think about and respond to challenges and setbacks. It isn't possible to completely untangle these 3 factors, but the personal choices we make certainly play a major role in confidence development. So, by keeping in mind a few practical tips, we do actually have the power to cultivate our own confidence. Tip 1, a quick fix. There are a few tricks that can give you an immediate confidence boost in the short term. Picture your success when you're beginning a difficult task. Something as simple as listening to music with deep bass. It can promote feelings of power. You can even strike a powerful pose or give yourself a pep talk. Tip 2, believe in your ability to improve. If you're looking for a long-term change, consider the way you think about your abilities and talents. Do you think they are fixed at birth, or that they can be developed, like a muscle? These beliefs matter because they can influence how you act when you're faced with setbacks. If you have a fixed mindset, meaning that you think your talents are locked in place, you might give up, assuming you've discovered something you're not very good at. But if you have a growth mindset and think your abilities can improve, a challenge is an opportunity to learn and grow. Neuroscience supports the growth mindset. The connections in your brain do get stronger and grow with study and practice. It also turns out, on average, people who have a growth mindset are more successful, getting better grades, and doing better in the face of challenges. Tip 3, practice failure. Face it, you're going to fail sometimes. Everyone does. J.K. Rowling was rejected by 12 different publishers before one picked up Harry Potter. The Wright brothers built on history's failed attempts at flight, including some of their own, before designing a successful airplane. Studies show that those who fail regularly and keep trying anyway are better equipped to respond to challenges and setbacks in a constructive way. They learn how to try different strategies, ask others for advice, and persevere. So, think of a challenge you want to take on. Realize it's not going to be easy. Accept that you'll make mistakes, and be kind to yourself when you do. Give yourself a pep talk, stand up, and go for it. The excitement you'll feel, knowing that whatever the result, you'll have gained greater knowledge and understanding. This is confidence.
Okay, so hopefully that gives you a little bit of confidence to realise that actually, yeah, you can do it, and it is something that you can work on. Yes, there's some things you can't change, but there's definitely things that you can. So all I'd say is on the day, don't worry, don't just try and relax as much as possible. At the end of the day, everyone's in the same boat. Yes, you're going to be with, 3 other learners, but all 3 learners are going to be doing exactly the same assessment. So you're all going to be taking it in hand. So relax as much as possible. Just make sure you have a backup plan. So, for example, then why the sound didn't come through, I don't know, because you'd already watched the first video and it came through fine and nothing had changed, and then it didn't on that second one. But those sort of things are going to happen, and that might happen on the day. So just make sure that I'm not going to then instantly fail you because something went wrong with a PowerPoint or it went off the screen. As long as you can stay relaxed and you're not going to start swearing about it and come off the video call, as long as you can get over that and overcome that problem, then those sort of allowances will definitely be taken into account, whether that's face to face on the day and the computer dies and you can still carry on because you're going to be prepared and you've got your notes there, so you're still going to have things to talk about and present to. Then it's not necessarily going to be an instant fail. And also don't think, oh, if you've said something that you shouldn't or you've missed something out, don't necessarily think in your head that you failed. Just keep going, just keep being positive, and just have the confidence that you can turn it around and you can still pass. So in terms of the presentation, there is obviously a Kahoot quiz, because I love your little quizzes. So if you guys want to get your quiz ready, so as always, it is the Kahoot.com, just for fun. Hopefully, Chantel, you'll be able to access this and we'll get that all up and running. Okay, so today's PIN number is 940534. So James, I can see that you've joined the session, and welcome to the afternoon session. Appreciate you probably haven't got Kahoot and you did only come in halfway through. So if you want to join in, you can, but obviously some questions you may not be able to answer, but you're more than welcome to join in if you wish. Okay, so Heather and Chantel are both in and both ready. Obviously, everything on the quiz is going to be generally around presentations or PowerPoints. As usual, the 5 questions, which are timed. So let's start. Question number 1. What are the 3 tasks in the SLC assessment? Excellent. Yeah, well done. So yeah, you've got your presentation, there'll be a question and answer, and then a group discussion afterwards. So well done. Let's see who's the quickest. Heather, well done. Question 2. By failing to prepare, you are what? Excellent. Yeah. So the famous quote at the start. Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. So preparation is key. Well done, Heather. Just got in there quicker. What should your PowerPoint include? Excellent, well done. So yeah, definitely for you guys, it could include pictures, because those pictures are going to prompt you to talk about something. Thought I'd throw one in there with videos, because obviously I mentioned it and you know that I like a good old video. But yeah, in your actual English assessment, it's not appropriate. However, in future PowerPoints and presentations, then yeah, by all means, if you think that video is relevant and it helps someone learn or understand something, then get it in there. But for your English assessment, well done. Oh, Chantel, so you got in there quicker this time. Well done. You should always practice your presentations, true or false? Yeah, of course you should. If you don't practice, how do you know how well it's going to go? Chantel was quicker again, well done. Last question. What shouldn't you do when presenting? Excellent. Yeah, so remember, body language is key. You don't want to stand there folding your arms because it makes it look like that you don't care, that you are not interested. So you should definitely take your time. You should definitely have some water nearby, and you should definitely ask questions. So well done. Let's see if Chantal was the quickest still, or did Heather take over? Chantal, well done. You brought that one back. So well done for that. Okay, so slightly different task for you guys for this one. So as always, I always tell you that practice makes perfect. So what I want you to do is I want you to create a PowerPoint. I'll leave it up to you. It's going to be either about your hobby, either a favourite sports team. So for myself, don't judge, I would do it on Spurs because they're my favourite football team. Or you can do it on a favourite music band. I'd love to hear all about McFly or someone if you really want to. So it's entirely up to you. I'll let you pick either of those. Only want 5 slides on there, so it doesn't have to be massive, doesn't have to be massive amounts of detail. And I want you to include an introduction, so whether that's your name and what it is, if it's your hobby or if it's your favourite football team, whatever. Obviously, each slide will have a heading on it. They'll have some bullet points on there, pictures where needed. And I want you to make sure that those slides have got the animation in there. So when I put it on the presenter view, it doesn't all pop up at the same time and it comes in at different times. So it doesn't have to look massively pretty, but I just want to make sure that you've got the basics. And we'll then use this so it won't go to waste. It'll be putting your skills into practice. And I won't necessarily obviously get you on a call to present it to me. However, we will then use that PowerPoint when we do a mock test for you, because I will get you guys to all practice, so you can kind of get a feel as to you guys obviously know how to log on to Teams, but you don't necessarily know how to do it on the presenter mode and to actually use it. So we need to make sure that you will, if we're going to do it remotely, that you know how to use that, and we will have a practice rerun. So we will use your mock test to do that, and this PowerPoint that you'll create will then be used for that. So once you've done it, then email it over to me and I'll have a look through it. If you want to create more and go a little bit more in depth and have more slides, you can, but minimum of 5 just on those basic points that I've said to have included. And just bear in mind that it will be for you to deliver approximately a 5-minute presentation, which we'll use then in your mock test. Okay, as always, and a little tip for you, always end with any questions. Have you guys got any questions on anything that we've covered today?
No, that's fine. Thank you, Cara.
Excellent. Thank you very much for joining.